don't need glasses, huh?
Good afternoon. I'm here with Dr. Lea Sullivan. I'm Jennifer Noreen, and we're introducing Lea a little bit to her audience today. It's so fun to be here on YouTube with you, Lea. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks, Jennifer, for having me. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I know that you've had a presence established on social media and on YouTube in the past, but we're just kind of doing a restart of all of that, just trying to get the word out about who you are and what you do, but also your book that you've written, which we're going to talk about today. So today is just about people getting to know you. So just relax. I'm going to ask you some really easy questions, and we'll let people get to know you. So the
Thanks.
first question I have, though, is who are you and what do you do? What does Lea
Who
Sullivan
am
do?
I? My name is Lea Sullivan. It's spelt funny, but it's pronounced Lee. And I am a doctor of trauma and crisis counseling. I work with all first responders, but have the most experience with firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a private practice. I am a former volunteer fire chaplain. Actually, I did some chaplaining for the fire service in my local area, and then also the sheriff's department with death notifications, stuff like that. So I have
Mm-hmm.
that in my background. I also was the nation's first director of a mental wellness program that was based on attachment science and not cognitive behavioral or
Mm.
behavioral health. And so that differentiated me from other folks, and we had great success with that. So that's
Yeah, it
professionally
does.
who I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So to translate some of that, it's just a lot of the therapy we find for trauma is CBT, which stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. And
Right.
Lee's approach is more, I've seen in your intros, emotional, but also what you just said, which is based on how people relate to one another, how they attach and function in their groups of people around them. So I
Yeah.
love what I've read so far as I've gotten to know your material about how important it is to be on a team that you trust and to work effectively with those around you to maintain safety. So, but
Right.
anyway, so that's who you are. That's what you do. What do you love about what you do?
Wow. Well, I wear a couple different hats, and so
Mm-hmm.
I have some favorites about the different roles of service that I have. As a therapist, I get to kind of parachute into the deep parts of someone's life. And I absolutely feel honored being able to do that. I call it sacred ground. I believe that's absolutely what a proper therapeutic environment is. It's
Mm-hmm.
sacred ground. And I love the moment a person surprises themselves. So maybe we've done some deep therapy, and they come in one day and start just rattling on about what they think is a typical story. This happened and then this. And I love being able to pause people and actually saying, "Hey, can we pause right there? Look what you did different. Look how you responded differently. Same context as many times in the past, but look at that healing that you just did." And I love it when I get this little spark of someone kind of surprising themselves. And for first responders who are always geared toward denying self and caring for others, to look at themselves and to actually acknowledge their own growth is a really big step for them. They often feel prideful and maybe even leaning towards arrogant when they acknowledge something good that they've done and an area of healing. And I don't find that prideful at all. I think we need to celebrate that. And sometimes the safe space of therapy is the only place they can celebrate it because they're afraid that they're going to be perceived as, uh, um, you know, prideful. And I think, nah. And so I love that little spark of, oh, you're right. Look at me. I just did this thing differently. I didn't have such a big response. I reacted differently. Or look, it's like it just slipped right off of me when someone did that kind of rude comment. I didn't even notice how it slipped right off me this time. Didn't even impact me. I love that. So that's in the therapy room. As a trainer or a speaker, training, it can be days and days over a course of a conference or something that I'll train in. Or if I just even get to do a 1 hour speaking, I love this moment so I deliver a lot of science when I talk.
You
And the
do.
science, often I'll see this little moment of something resonates for themselves. And it's this little moment, like a spark of, oh my gosh, that's why that form of therapy never worked for me, or that's why it only lasted a couple months, or oh, that's why what I'm doing is working for me. And so it's that moment, it's through science, but it's really this moment of, oh my gosh, look at, and when we bring understanding to something, our midbrain and our nervous system both relax. And so as a first responder, when you're always hypervigilant or geared up, you're like, you're geared up, you're ready. And even when you're at home, you're ready. So for someone, when they're living in that state, I would say chronically, even in a moment in time when they can have a moment of understanding that settles the brain and then settles the nervous system, that to me is magical. And I love seeing that from a stage, from training in the classroom, it doesn't matter. I'll see it on people. And I've observed trauma on people for so long now. I can see it coming down the hall at me, and I can see it when they're in their chairs. Like, there's little micro expressions of settling, and that's the magic for me. I just love it. So I could do that all day.
Yeah, you're making a difference. That's exciting. And it's exciting
Thanks.
that you know what to measure and see, to know that you are making a difference. Yeah.
Mm.
So, what is hard about what you do? What's your biggest, if you have to pick one of what's the biggest challenge to your work?
Good question. The biggest challenge for me is the loneliness of being a therapist. Because I'm parachuting into some deep moments in people's lives, um, those are stories I will take with me to my grave, you know.
Yeah.
And so even though I have good colleagues around me and I have a great support system personally and professionally, I have great people who I can call on and give a general idea, and they can nod their head and go, yeah, that's totally normal. The details, and I'll be honest with you, working with first responders, who are up close and in proximity, and firefighters who actually move through they actually touch the evil of life. There's bad things that happen, and then there's this whole nother level up of real evil, and people do horrible things to one another. And when they're pouring that out, I hold it with them. I hold it. We try to resolve it as quickly as we can for them, of course, and they resolve it for themselves. I might be a guide, but they're the ones who get the victory and the win, and they heal themselves. And that's the lonely part of this job, because I will carry that forever. And yes, I have ways that I process for myself. I have to do my own work. This job keeps me accountable for sure. And you certainly can't lead someone where you haven't been yourself already. And so it keeps me honest to do my own work. And yet that part the loneliness is probably the hardest part of my job, I would say, for me.
Yeah, you can't teach people how to have containers for hard things if you don't have your own container. And it's like
right.
I just know about trauma therapy, and you're gathering these parts of people's containers, and you've got to have a secure one for yourself, and definitely have things that you enjoy in your life, and I'm sure that you have to have fun and have great connections with people that love you but don't need you to be their therapist.
Yes.
I would think. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I've thought about what you do, and just in the looking at your books and your materials and reading your site and YouTube over the last month, and I thought, wow, where does she hide all that? Where does she put all that? That would be really difficult. So I respect and admire you for that work. It's a holy work, I think.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So that's your biggest challenge.
Yeah.
So of all of those years, so it sounds like you obviously went to lots of schooling, and then you've spent time actually in therapy practice, and you've also been a chaplain for which part of the military? Which arm of military were you a chaplain? Or how does that work?
There are different kinds. That's a great question. There's different, you can be called a chaplain and have very different roles of responsibility. So like there's hospital chaplains, and their primary role begins when someone enters the door of a hospital, and that is also where their jurisdiction ends. There's first responder chaplains who work for fire districts, fire departments, and law enforcement offices. So your sheriff's offices or your city police departments. And those folks, when you are a chaplain for a law enforcement agency, primarily you're going along with a law enforcement officer, deputy, to go give a death notification. Someone's maybe passed away in another city or state, and their next of kin or a relative lives here locally, and so you have to deliver a death notification. So that's a tough role. It's short. You're in and out of that house.
Wow.
When you're a chaplain for a fire department, you are there for the citizen, the community member, and then oftentimes you can provide the end of the story for those firefighters, for that crew. So you might want to, if it was an especially difficult call, you might want to go back and loop the crew that was on that call, on that critical incident, loop them in with, hey, here's more of the story. It helps them reconcile, hey, I thought we could do more. You know, they're always thinking that way. I thought we could do more. I thought I could do more. And it helps reconcile, no, it was their day. And when it's someone's day, no amount of intervention is going to change that. And so you did everything you possibly could. So anyway, you work more closely. You're there for the citizens of the community, but you actually do work more closely with the firefighters and the crews when you're a firefighter chaplain.
So it sounds like you helped them to bring resolve to the situation, which is normal human behavior, is to want the resolve, even if it's a bad resolve. Or
that's right.
Wow. Yeah, that's lots of interpersonal work with tender situations and people that are probably moving right on to their next event, right? It's not like they have a half a day to process last night's trauma. I assume there's some real creativity there in getting people to deal with and process all of that. So, wow, fascinating work. Yeah. So why did you write a book? So can you show everyone your book, or do you have it? If you don't,
sure.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Oh, did you want one? Yeah.
Yeah, I have one actually right here on my desk.
Aw,
thanks, sweaters.
I love super? It. Matching.
Anyway, but tell us about your book. Why? What's it called, and why did you write it?
It is called Cover My Six, A Comprehensive Guide to Firefighter Care. I also wrote, hold on, let me get it. It's on my desk. Cover My Six, the playbook. This book, my first book, I wrote it because I have worked with all kinds of first responders, and firefighters are a unique demographic of first responders. So there's first responders, big level, and then you've got law enforcement, dispatch, firefighters. And you can also put in there fish and wildlife, safe and search and rescue folks, flight medics. There's a whole bunch of subcategories within the first responder group. And each one of them has nuanced little differences among them. Firefighters, they are typically first on, last off of a critical incident call. So their duration of time distinguishes them from other first responders. their proximity to the call. So when you see a motor vehicle accident and you see maybe a car on fire as you're driving down the highway, those firefighters are the ones who have to get up close to the gruesomeness of that scene. You know, let's be honest, if I can just be kind of blunt here,
Yeah.
there's a burned body in that car and someone has to extricate it. You can't tow a vehicle with a body in it. So someone needs to extricate that victim
Mm-hmm.
and that patient who's deceased. And so it's the firefighters. So they're up close. They're actually moving through the gruesome of every critical incident call. Law enforcement officers can, but they're often investigating. Their role is a little stepped back from the gruesomeness, and that might piss some people off to hear that. That's the reality of the job. It doesn't take away from law enforcement officers in any way. It's just a different role. And
Mm-hmm.
firefighters, they just have my respect because of some of the differences that distinguish them. They're also, their shift work causes them to have different experiences. While a police officer may work a day shift, for example, they're always at home at night with their families. That also causes some complications for the blue line. Being home and never, you take the Kevlar off, but you're still not where your boots are. You're not at home still. Fire, you're on shift for 24 or 48 hours, sometimes 72. But in this day and age with our call volume, nobody should be working 72 hours anymore. That's going to burn out the piece of apparatus that is called your personnel. So don't do it, chiefs. Don't do it. But anyway, so firefighters have this uniqueness to them among all first responders. Because of that, there's some nuances that they need specialized care tailored for them. And I'll be honest with you, most therapists I hear, most conferences I go to are called first responder, whatever conference for all first responders. And yet there are differences among them. And if we don't acknowledge those differences, if we don't even understand those differences, we are not going to be as effective in the tools that we apply for them. So I knew I wanted to write a book for firefighters directly. And I put every tool, I'm a research nerd. I researched so much. And then I also got to experience in my own therapy office what works and what doesn't work. And what I discovered is cognitive behavioral practices maintain the benefits very short term. The research shows they only last about 12 months beyond the end of treatment. So in other words, if I do cognitive behavioral therapy with you, Jennifer, and you're my therapist, and you teach me breathing techniques, meditation techniques, how to settle my nervous system by counting the blue things in my room, all these mind body bridging, all these things, right, that are cognitive and behavioral. Once you and I are done with treatment, the research shows that the benefits of that are going to only stay with me up to 12 months later. So in other words, and this kind of makes sense because you have to keep doing this new behavior in order for it to continue working. For me, therapeutically speaking, clinically speaking, that's not called treatment. Let me say that again. And this will burn people. People will not like to hear this. That's not called treatment. If I'm going to have to continue to do this thing, I guess you can put it under the large umbrella of treatment, but what is it really treating if I have to continually do this over and over? If I continually have to take chemotherapy medicine, I don't, and for the rest of my life, is that treatment? Or is it's treating something, but I don't know that you can say it's treatment. let's say it's treating
Mm-hmm.
symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
but can we call it treatment? I don't know. I have a beef with that professionally. So when I did the research and I could see it in my office, people coming in saying, I've had first responder therapy. I'm like, well, they missed the piece of attachment therapy, which scientifically, according to neuroscience, that's what lasts beyond 3 years when you're done with treatment. And if something lasts beyond 36 months in a research study, we consider it permanent. In other words, that result is going to be with that person for the rest of their life. That based on research, that's our mark. So if you and I do an attachment-based model of therapy, which is called mental health, not behavioral health, then when you and I are done with therapy, I'm going to continue to receive the benefits of that for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I may have to go back and relearn some stuff. Absolutely, of course, that can happen. But the baseline of my brain has changed. It is shifted. I call that treatment. It's treated something. There is a moment of healing.
Mm-hmm.
So I put every tool that is trauma informed, based on research, I put that all in a book because I wanted to get the tools into the hands of firefighters. They can pick and choose what form of therapy they are ready for now, what do they want, and they can know with certainty what it is going to do for them. Instead of walking into a therapist's office, being told, I'm a first responder therapist, I know what I'm doing, and then being offered a model of therapy that the science doesn't back for long term. There's nothing wrong with CBT or cognitive behavioral or prolonged exposure therapy. There's nothing wrong with that. If we tell people, hey, the science shows it's not going to last longer than 12 months, so you must maintain this on your own after we are done.
Mm-hmm.
That's full disclosure, no problem. But we don't disclose that as a profession, I would say generally. And so a little bit of this book is me saying, let's get the truth out there so that folks can actually be the experts of their own mental health and wellness. That's it. I'll jump off my soapbox now.
So that was the passion that motivated you to take all of these, your schooling, your research obsession, which I love, your on the ground experience. I mean, my goodness, what you've shared today, you've been right there. So given all of that, your motivation was to get your approach that you see that works and that you feel more integrity about out there into the world. Yeah. And so I think the amazing thing about this book is you could read it as a doctor, or I think you could benefit from it as any kind of first responder. It is particular for firefighters and chiefs and people involved in firefighting. But to me, it's just amazing how there are so many layers of this book. I mean, if you're just a research hound, if you're a doctor or someone that wants to improve your knowledge, this is a great book for you. But if you're someone who's, a firefighter whose marriage is falling apart and you need a tool, you can also go to the contents here and find that as well. Or if you're a chief that's trying to lead a meeting about mental health for your crew. There's so many different layers of knowledge in this book. It's amazing. I think this book could be about 4 different books. So we need Lee just to take 2 years off and go write some more books. But anyway, no, it's fascinating to get to know you and your work and your passion and what you do. And it's very exciting. So tell me, before we stop talking about the book, we'll tell people that this is available on Amazon, both this book and the playbook that Lee shared. And we would love to have you purchase this book and tell people you think would benefit from this book about it. We would love to particularly get it into the hands of every fire station across the country. We're going to start with the United States and then we're going to move on. But for now, we want this in the hands of every station because it's a playbook. It is a rule book, a tool book, so many good things, and it needs to be available. So our first goal is to get it available, right?
That's right.
And
That's right.
and you can get it on Amazon right now, if
Yep.
you know, after the video.
Yep.
So, but to move on from that, we're going to talk more about the book. You're going to learn more about the book as you follow us on social media. You're going to start to see snippets and all kinds of different things about the book. But what do you do as far as this video goes? What do you do when you're not thinking about firefighter trauma, or
Oh,
you're not thinking about your next book or your next speaking engagement? What does Lea Sullivan like to do outside of your work?
for fun. Let's see. First, I believe as adults, we don't play nearly enough. We need to, and I'm preaching to the choir. I'm first in that line of not playing enough. So I'm continually trying to infuse more playtime in my life. Um, I have lived on a boat for many years now, and so I really enjoy anything, any water sport, in the water, on the water, under the water, playing around, splashing. I just find it really fun for me. That's where I'm gonna do my most belly laughing and just have the best memories is on the water. I For fun, I regularly I'm a cycling instructor at my local YMCA. I
Nice.
kind of laugh about that because I don't think I'm worthy of that, but I have so much fun, and my classes, I just really enjoy the people there. They're so fun for me. Some of them are becoming friends, and so I get a lot of joy out of that. They made me laugh just this morning. They cracked me up. So that's my joy. That's where I have a lot of fun, and I do it all with my family. So everywhere I go, every something I do, I always have some member of my family with me.
Yeah, yeah. So that's good that, well, you would have to say that answer because you wouldn't be a good therapist if you didn't. I
That's true.
mean,
That's
we
true.
have to have time to process all this healing, right?
Yeah.
Um, I am
Yeah.
putting the name of your book in a banner right now, and I'm going to put it on. Thank you for that, and thank you for your answer. But I am
Oh,
going to show the name of your book and just remind people again that you can get it on Amazon.
mhm.
Cover My Six: A Comprehensive Guide to Firefighter Care, and then there's also the playbook. But this is really the focus right now. We want you to go buy this book and
Yep.
share it with people that you think would benefit from it, which is a lot. Anybody and everybody in the firefighter community, pretty much. So, and we want to hear about your questions about today. We would love to hear topics you want us to cover in future videos. We are going to eventually get this out in podcast world. So eventually we'll be saying, what do you want us to talk about in the next podcast? But we want to know, we want to make these video times. We're going to do them once a month, and we want them to be about our audience. So as we grow this online audience, and there's people in different groups throughout the nation that all affiliated with firefighters. If you have questions or things you want us to cover, please let us know what those things are. You can always make a
Absolutely.
comment on social media. Is there an email address you're comfortable with sharing publicly?
Sure, anyone can email me. I am happy to speak to anybody with a question. Admin, ADMIN, at drleasullivan.com. And there's no period in there. DRLEASULLIVAN.com.
Okay.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Very good. So we'd love to hear your questions and comments and topics you'd like to see covered. If you want to share a story that you think we could share here, or if you know someone that would be interested in being our guest, we want to hear that too. We can have several people on here. I'd love to have some open forum conversation. So it's been fun to be with you here today. And we'll do this again next month. And we look forward to seeing more people get the word out about the videos. And hopefully this will be a useful time for people. So
Thank you
thanks.
so much,
Thanks,
Jennifer. I
Lee.
appreciate this.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been good.
It's been fun.